Hello, Ken. Hope everybody's doing well. I got some things to say about this one. Not good. Before I get into it too much, though, remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell down below. I do greatly appreciate it. Where do I want to get started on this one? It was not good. It was unfortunate because coming into this game, Michigan State had looked pretty good, and then yikes. Yikes. I don't know even where to begin. Let's go with the good. Okay, I'm going to start with the good. Let's start with the good. It's easy to go doom and gloom. I will get into the negatives. Let me start out by saying I don't want it to sound like it's all doom and gloom. Oh my gosh, this is the end of their season. This is the worst case scenario. They're going to start losing a bunch of games. The sky is falling, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to do that. That's not what I mean when I point to some of the negative things. But I do want to point to them because it gives you a different side of the picture. Up until this point, Michigan State has looked really good against the opponents they have faced. And in this one, it was the opposite. They looked bad. Now, what's the good situation coming out of this game? You played a really bad game, and you found a way to win it. You escaped with a W. So what you've got now is a game where you struggled, you were put to the test, you came out on top, and now you've got a bunch of film that shows and highlights all the things you did wrong. That's a very big learning moment. That's a moment where the team can really rally around and say, you know what, we didn't get the job done, but we still found a way to win. Our season's still alive. Let's go make this better so it doesn't happen again. These are all good things. When you can get into a game like this, a situation like this, and really a game that could have swung either way, you know, when your team rises up and finds a way to win, why is that not a good thing? You know, it could have easily had your learning moment, your big test moment come in a game that you lost, and then you have to really try to recover and learn at the same time. And it can really swing things in a negative fashion. So you got tested, you got punched in the mouth a little bit, and you came away with the W. That's the good. The bad. I felt like overall the play calling was still pretty decent. I felt like the execution was poor. And that kind of sounds like you'd rather have it the other way, but believe me when I tell you that's a good thing. It all starts with play calling. As long as your play calling is putting players into a position to be successful, then you got a chance. And then it's up to the players to perform. And it's much easier to fix a problem from a player standpoint in the middle of the season than it is to try to fix a problem from the play calling standpoint. So I thought the play calling was still pretty good. Maybe not as good as it has been in the past few games, but still pretty solid on both sides of the ball. I didn't have anything I could point to as a major issue. It really just felt like Michigan State didn't play as disciplined or, you know, as tight from a assignment standpoint. Didn't play as tight of a game as they have in weeks past. They looked a little sloppier, and I will touch on each position group to really highlight, you know, kind of where they struggled. So it is a teachable moment, but you found a way. You know, we found a way to get the win. That's huge. It's better than being in a game like this, being put to the test, making mistakes and missed assignments, and then losing on top of it. So we came out ahead of the sticks in the overall, you know, overall scheme of the entire season. So that's a good thing. Peyton Thorne, not a great game. I really praised his poise in the pocket. I really praised his decision-making coming into this one, and he kind of let me down a little bit, especially coming out of the gate. To float one deep over the middle, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. That was way too easy for the safety to just step in front of that and intercept it. He floated it way too much right down the middle of the field. That's a very poor decision. You can't do that. You got to take care of the football. And there was really no reason to just throw that one up there like that. It's early in the game. Worst case scenario, you take a sack, you punt, and you start over. So don't do that. Decision making needs to be a little bit better. You only had a quarterback rating of 30. Let me pull up some stats here. 33.1, which is not great. I mean, it's not terrible. I've definitely seen worse, but 14 to 23, 183 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was a little bit of a step back. It was maybe a little bit of a reality check for Peyton Thorne. And honestly, a lot more pressure was put on him, both from the pass rush perspective from Nebraska, but also because the run game just wasn't working that well. And so I got to put some of the fault on the offensive line as well. Not all of Peyton Thorne's bad play was necessarily all on him. His offensive line really didn't help him out much, and that's not good. I don't feel like Nebraska has an award-winning All-American defense by any stretch of the imagination. Nebraska's safeties are pretty good, but up front, yeah. I'm not to say they're terrible. They're definitely not a terrible team. Nebraska's still a pretty good team as far as a talent perspective is concerned. But, yeah, Peyton Thorne just got to make better decisions. You can't hang one out over the middle like that. The run game, Kenneth Walker. I'm not going to be too hard on Kenneth Walker. I know he had a bit of a down game. He had 19 carries, 61 yards. It's not really his fault. There wasn't really much Kenneth Walker could do with the blocking he was being given. That's just, you know, I got to put that on the offensive line. The blocking wasn't good in this one. Kenneth Walker did what he could with what he had. It just wasn't working. It just was not working. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. The wide receiving core, a bit up and down. You know, a couple guys had some nice games. You know, Reed found the end zone again, 4 receptions, 59 yards. Mosley had a pretty nice game, 6 receptions, 70 yards. Hayward added 2 receptions for 39 yards, a couple of nice plays out of him. Naylor, where did Naylor go? Not even on the stat sheet. He was nowhere to be found. They did try to get the ball to him a couple times down the field, but man, in my pre-game video, I said I wanted him to see get Naylor involved earlier. You know, give him something simple. Give him some jet sweeps. Give him some screen passes. I feel like once he starts making plays, he becomes even more, that kind of fuels him, and he becomes even more involved in the offense. So I personally, as a play caller, would be getting the ball in his hands on just some simple stuff early and often. Get him involved right away, and hopefully that'll fuel him for the rest of the game, because like in this one, he didn't really get involved early at all. They finally started to try to throw to him later in the game, and it wasn't working. I don't know what it is. If they were just playing a safety over the top of him because he has the speed, or if he just doesn't get into a rhythm without getting the ball. Not really sure what the issue is there, but you need that guy. He's a playmaker, so I, as a play caller, would be doing everything I could to get him the ball early and often. Also, Naylor, make yourself available to the quarterback so you can get the ball. I can't put this all on the play calling. If I was going to point to the play calling where I think they should do things a little differently, that would be one suggestion. But it's also on Naylor to, when he's out there running his routes, you know, get open and make yourself available to the quarterback. It's a two-way street, and for you to just not do anything through an entire game is concerning. That should not happen. We can't let that happen again. He needs to be involved in the offense, so we're going to have to get that fixed. Offensive line, oof, that was bad. Miami game was rough. This one was worse, and honestly, I think Miami's defensive line was better, so I'm not really sure if it was a scheme thing, if Nebraska was just doing things that Michigan State wasn't expecting, or what the issue was, but Nebraska really came downhill to stop Kenneth Walker, and they were successful, and that put more pressure on Peyton Thorne in the passing game. But even in the passing game, Nebraska was finding a way to get to Peyton Thorne and making his life miserable. So yeah, I didn't feel like Peyton Thorne played well, but he wasn't given a whole lot of help either. You know, if you're under duress all the time and taking hits, those add up after a while. So, and a lot of it, again, was just, I've pointed to it all season, miscommunication. It's got to get better. We've got to find a way to fix this. I don't know who's in charge of calling out the blocks, but for example, there was one play, I don't remember exactly during the game when it was, but I remember it vividly because it highlighted what I've been talking about. Nebraska brought an overloaded blitz to the right side of the offensive line. but they had shifted their D-line to the left. So what happened was the offensive line down blocked to the left because that's where the immediate pressure was going to come from, which it did. They brought a lot of guys on this play. But the issue was Kenneth Walker stayed to the left and was out of position to pick up the blitz coming from the right. So I don't know if Kenneth Walker didn't hear the down block call, if it wasn't made and it should have been. I don't know. But that, to me, screams miscommunication error. If the offensive line is blocking to the left, then your running back should know if you're going to get pressure, it's probably going to come from the right because there's nobody left to block any additional pass rushers out there. I point to that just because it really highlighted what I've been talking about, where it's miscommunication is allowing the rush to get to Peyton Thorne, and that's got to be cleaned up. It's been an issue for weeks now. I've seen it in all their games to this point. They just haven't played a defense good enough to make them pay for it. And Nebraska found a way to get to Peyton Thorne, and they kept coming with pressure. So that's got to be cleaned up. That's got to get better. That was just a play that really highlighted kind of what I've been talking about. And it's not always been the running back's fault. Sometimes, you've got linemen blocking left, and the guard will also go, help hedge to the left. And the defense will bring a delayed blitz from a linebacker who'll kind of loop around and come to the right side. That guard has got to be able to recognize that and shuffle over to pick him up as he comes on that delayed blitz. It's not easy, but you've got to be able to pick those things up, and they've done a bad job of it so far. So hopefully we can get that cleaned up, and they'll look better moving forward. It's a recurring issue, so it's definitely something that needs to be addressed and fixed. Defensive line, I got nothing bad to say about the D-line. D-line looked great. The D-line really held this thing together. They were making plays in the run game and the pass game. They did a good job of keeping Martinez hemmed in as much as you can with a quarterback like that. You've got to come into this game accepting the fact that Adrian Martinez is going to break the pocket sometimes. He's going to be able to get out and make plays with his feet. It's just what he does. But I felt like the defensive line really did a great job of limiting how much they allowed him to do that. And you can't ask him to do more than that. They got after him. They sacked him quite a bit. They did a good job stopping the run game. Most of what Nebraska did to hurt Michigan State was ad-lib plays, and that's just what Adrian Martinez does. So you're going to take some body punches in this one. You have to accept that and know that. But overall, I felt like the D-line really played a great game. Linebackers, where are you? We have to find somebody that can make a play as a linebacker. I felt like as good as the D-line played, the linebackers did not play well at all. They could not stop Martinez. They were too slow to even have a chance at stopping Martinez. So, linebacking core, not good. Needs to get better. They were out of position or just simply too slow to make a play. And that's not good because you're going to run into more athletes as the season goes on. Adrian Martinez definitely isn't going to be the only guy that you have to put a spy on. And if your spy can't keep up with the quarterback, that's bad. Xavier Henderson had a really nice game again. The safeties played well. Corners were up and down. They had their moments where they played really well, and they had their moments where they gave up some plays they probably shouldn't have. Part of that is scheme. I think they're playing pretty soft coverage, especially early in games still. But, you got to find a way to tighten that up, be in the wide receiver's pocket, and make that a difficult throw, especially for a quarterback like Adrian Martinez, whose accuracy is all over the place. If you just make those difficult throws for Adrian Martinez, you're either going to, A, have a chance at an interception, or B, force Martinez to make a difficult throw, which he probably can't and won't make, so it'll just be an incompletion. So need to tighten up the coverage a little bit, but it's a great interception to end the game. I mean, jumping that slant route is exactly what he should have done. That ball never should have been thrown by Adrian Martinez, but great job from the corner by really driving on that slant route. Nebraska wasn't really going to do anything else in that position. They didn't have enough field to go vertical, so as soon as he saw the receiver break in on the slant, he drove on it. Got the interception. That really sealed the win for Michigan State. So that was a great play. So what we need is more of that earlier in the game. Take some chances earlier in the game. Understand that your safeties are playing really well. Henderson is where he needs to be. I can't think of the other safety's name, but The other safeties are also playing well. It's not like they're being caught out of position all the time. Just have faith in those guys and don't be afraid to drive. When you diagnose something like that, like you did on that play, drive on the football. Turnovers are crucial. It gave you the game. Anytime you can get turnovers, so be a bit more physical, be a bit more eager to jump routes, trust your instincts, and trust your teammates to be there to cover for you if you guess wrong on occasion. So that's my take on the defense. I thought the play calling was pretty good defensively overall, but I don't know. I mean, it's still very concerning that, by all rights, Nebraska, if they don't shoot themselves in the foot multiple times in this game, both from penalties and from turnovers and just sloppy mistakes from Martinez, they probably win this one by at least a touchdown margin. It probably never even gets to overtime if they don't shoot themselves in the foot. So I don't mean to make it sound like Michigan State didn't do anything to make, I don't want it to sound like, oh, we didn't do anything to make Nebraska's life difficult. They just killed themselves. It's not like that. But you also have to recognize the fact that against a more disciplined team, maybe you don't win that one. And that's just the fact, You play against a Wisconsin, a Penn State, an Ohio State, a team that's not going to shoot themselves in the foot like that. You're not even in a position to get to overtime, probably. So you got to clean up, recognize where your mistakes are. Recognize the fact that, you played poorly enough that without some help from the other team shooting themselves in the foot, maybe you're not even in a position to get to overtime and have a chance to win the game. So own up to your mistakes. That's how we learn from them. This is still a good football team. This is still a team that can win a lot of games. But based on the way they played today, you're probably not beating the way Penn State with the way they're playing right now. You're probably not beating Ohio State because C.J. Stroud is only going to get better as the year goes on. Every time Ohio State comes out, they're going to get better. So you need to make sure you do the same. Because based on the way you played today, the Big Ten title is not happening. So we got to fix those things. We got to clean it up. It's just that simple. That's all I really got on this one. It was a bit of a disappointment. But on the other hand, this was their first true test. First time somebody played them to the wire, and we found a way to win. We made a play when we needed it. That's huge. Make a play when you need it. So that's the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell. And don't worry, the sky is not falling. This is not the end of all things. Still undefeated. We still got the whole season ahead of us. This was one minor hiccup, which hopefully we're going to learn a lot from, and we will get better and improve. And when you can have a game like that and win it, like I said, that's the good. That's a good thing. So that will end this one. Remember, all love, all the time. Peace.